Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There are not.
The only thing, Scott Jensen can't make it today, so we won't be discussing the culvert behind the town garage today, town office today. We will try and make a detail where he can come out at some point that's convenient to him, and we will try and meet with him. That will not be a meeting per se, but it will be to just know what we can do, and we will let you know, Harold, when that's going to happen.
And that will be probably midweek, not on a weekend.
Probably, I don't know.
If at all possible, towards the end of the day, so that I can attend, otherwise I will be at school.
All right. Public comment. Sandy? Tim?
Yes. So as you noticed the last time we were here, I have a petition, so I'll submit that now. But if I get a copy of it, down when you have a chance.
Do you want to read what it says so that we can know what that's about?
Petition to hold the Athens special town meeting in person. We, the undersigned, all residents and registered voters of town of Athens, respectfully request that the special town meeting to determine whether the town meeting will continue to be held in person or by ballot be held in person. We therefore petition the select board to hold this meeting in person and to warn voters that such a meeting to be determined at the date and place set by the select board will be held in person. And it's, I don't know how many votes, how many names?
63.
63 vote names on the petition. So I'll give that to Darlene, and she can put it with the minutes here for this.
I don't think this is a legal petition. Doesn't have address, printed names.
This is a petition just letting people know what they want, I believe. It isn't a petition that says you have to do it, but I think it just gives us the direction what those 63 people wanted. So, would that be reasonable to say?
Well, it's a petition, so it's how they've always been done before in this town, is just signatures.
Well, this one is to me.
Well, usually, a lot of times when they did the petition, Dan, it's to put something on a warning, so it would be to place on a warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
such and
placed on
such,
the warning.
and you need the amount of people. But this here is just stating a objective.
Fact, one way or the other, yes. And it,
Give it to me and I'll make a copy.
this is another petition for the special town meeting to be held on December 9th, 2021. All town meeting and special town meetings held after that. We, the legal voters of Athens, petition that the select board hold an Australian ballot voting method on the article for this meeting.
How many signatures are
2, 4,
How many signatures are on that one?
9, I
Nine.
believe. Count them correct.
Is that petition being submitted as is? Because there's not enough signatures on it, right?
Well, no, there is. It only takes like 5%, so
Okay.
that would be enough to do that.
Voters do we have?
100 and,
200 and something.
yeah, right around 200.
Well, I was told there's 260 something, so you need 14 signatures to make it legal for 5%.
No, that's the, you need 5% of signatures in order to properly warn something, in order to get it on an article to be voted on.
Okay.
That's good.
278.
So it's 5%, 178.
So
So
then,
say 170, or 180, 18 for 10, 9 for 5.
So 9 signatures, not 5%.
Do it.
You want another chair?
So 9 is not 5%.
And 9 is 5%. Just barely. $178.
She said 278.
Okay,
278.
278.
Oh, 278. Oh, yeah, you're not even close.
not close. So, we'll move on to the, Dan, you have other things you want to say for public
Yes,
comment?
I'd like a copy of the minutes of what was discussed after your meeting the other day was dismissed. You guys had a quorum, so I'd like to have minutes of what was discussed.
I haven't typed them up yet, but I will.
This is after that meeting was dismissed. Then minutes. Anytime you have a quorum, you have to have minutes of what's discussed, as long as it's town business.
If there's a meeting, yes, you do.
But if it's not a meeting, if you guys have a quorum, there has to be minutes. Yes, it's a law.
All right. You can certainly have a copy of the minutes. Errol?
Yeah, the only comment I want to make is, you know, if we don't have in-house meeting, town meeting and so forth, it just scares me that we're going to lose small town America, you know, because I think, you know, I take pride in the fact that we have a meeting, we can voice our opinion face to face, we can ask questions face to face, and whether it be on the budget, whether it be on officers, whatever the case, it just scares me the way America's going, and we're falling right into that, and I don't want to do that.
We agree with what Carol just said, that's why we are here.
All right.
Yeah.
Same thing.
All right. Liz, do you have
I
anything?
agree with Harold.
Okay. But do you have anything you want to say?
Later.
Well, we may not have public comments later. This is where the public comments are. If you want to speak, if anybody wants to speak, now would be the time to do that, so.
Well, all I can say is there's no honesty and integrity.
Me? I would like to have the Athens town meeting like it always has been, so you can have conversations.
Wishing.
Can I go last?
Yeah, I would love to keep the town meeting as it is. I like the in-person and the discussion of different things. I think it's really, really good.
I agree with that.
And in addition to what they said, I think that 63 registered voters said that they want to have an in-person town meeting and, not town meeting, excuse me, special meeting to discuss things important. I know that the virtual meeting before that to discuss is possible, like we did with the town meeting this year. But some people in town, including people like Adrian Tenney, who I spoke to, were concerned that they don't have access to the internet, so they wouldn't be able to attend that way. And additionally, in addition to not having access to the internet, we've had this happen in virtual meetings before where you can't hear someone or something cuts out, and I think that 63 people on such short notice were so adamant about wanting to come together to discuss is something that the select board should take very seriously.
Town meeting is actually Athens' only event that brings that many people out. You know, they have meeting house events, not many show up, but town meeting, I mean, you get, what, 50 or 60 people sometimes? I mean, that's pretty big. That's pretty big for Athens.
I just would like to urge the select board to have this discussion in person on the 9th and to continue our March meeting in person. I've spoke to several people in town like everyone else has, and they really feel that these are very important issues for our town. And it's the only time of year that they get to come and voice their opinion on what should be done in their town. So I really feel like we need to have these discussions in person.
You can still vote on the individual articles via Australian ballot at an in-person meeting, correct? That's how we've always done it. Yeah, and a lot of the articles I wouldn't fully understand if we didn't have the discussion portion of it to start with. So.
The only issues I have is basically the the town part of it itself with the voting of officers. A lot of people just don't seem to participate until all of a sudden at town meeting. Then you can get people to volunteer for different offices. If you don't have that option, I can see a lot of these offices just going right away because people just aren't going to want to do it.
Well, I think we ought to have it where we encourage as many participants from the town to vote. So I don't know if we could separate, we had a good turnout last year as far as voting for the town officials and stuff, and I think that's a good thing for the town, instead of a handful of people on meeting day voting, and it seems like the power all kind of went one way there. But March, it seemed like it changed a little bit. So I'd like to hold a meeting where you could vote, maybe mail-in ballots for officers, and then articles at the meeting in person. But I think the voter turnout last year was something we should really try to preserve.
Well, I really agree that I think articles should be discussed. There were some issues last time where people in town voted certain ways in articles because they didn't understand the articles, and if they had, they would have voted another way. I also want to ask, I don't know, Darlene, if that's your responsibility, but did either like a physical mail or an email get sent to me to warn of this meeting to me?
No, I didn't, because I don't know your email address.
Okay, it was on the request that I made last time. So because of that, this meeting is also improperly warned since I submitted a request, a written request to be notified, as is my right. And I want to really quickly read my letter about this. So I want to thank you for having heard my letter on Thursday, November 4th scheduled special meeting concerning the violation of open meeting law by this body. I further appreciate the immediate move to cure the violation. And while I do not regret advocating for the rights of all citizens of Athens, for which I was thanked for by many, I do regret the way the message was received. As we all know, communication is not only about what you send, but about how it is received. And I understand that it was perceived by some as too aggressive. I am submitting a formal apology for that perceived aggression. I will continue to refine my communication to ensure it is received in the way I intend it to be, which is certainly not aggressive. And I would like to reiterate that I meant no ill will, merely to address the frustration by many of us Athens residents, given that we did not know of that meeting until after 10 p.m. the night before, or even the morning of. Unfortunately, I believe this body has once again violated the open meeting law. In the letter I submitted at the aforementioned special meeting, I had formally requested I be warned 24 hours in advance by email or mail, as is my right under section 310(5) of open meeting law, and I can even write down my email so it's easier. By not having received this warning, this meeting has also not properly been warned. While I certainly do not want to put a target on my back, and notably being a fan of Gandhi-like behavior, i.e. breaking the law if the law is unjust, I would like to avoid leaving people out of the democratic process, and that means abiding by laws that are just and do promote fairness. Although most likely an unpopular cure, I would like the Select Board to once again postpone this meeting and properly warn it. This means not only submitting the notice to the newspaper, hopefully with enough time for folks to see the warning, as it is the right thing to do, but also warning those who have specifically asked to be individually warned, like me, and those who also would like to be individually warned. You can submit your written request to the Select Board. Thank you again for hearing and addressing my plea. Kindly, Weiche. And I am also submitting copies of the open meeting law for help on referencing.
So, I don't think anybody took it as aggressive, your letter last time about that. We thought that the newspaper had been notified. Did you put your email address on here? Yes,
No, I can put it though.
It's right on the top.
It is on the top. Oh, it is on the top. Yep. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think that was, we considered that aggressive or wrong. We didn't do it, we didn't call the newspaper and tell them that, and we closed down that meeting. But I think this meeting, the majority of it was done. You know about it because you're here.
I know about it because other people told me, not because I was properly warned.
Well, I'm not sure. We can get into that, and if we have to, we'll go through that. We will certainly notify you again if there is and anybody that wants it, they can submit an email address to Darlene, and she will notify them if there is to be any special meetings. That is perfectly fine. But I believe that we should go ahead with this meeting at this point in time. And we will correct any of the not notifying anybody. If they want to be notified, they absolutely can be notified by email.
I just want to make sure that you understand that if we do proceed with this meeting, and this is technically a violation, I mean, it's technically a violation if I was not properly warned. So if we continue with this meeting, we risk the decisions being made in this meeting being void.
Understand?
Okay. All right.
What is your opinion on continuing with the meeting?
Lucia is stating that the meeting was not properly warned, and I understand that, but I would take it as a friendly gesture that you would allow us to go on with the meeting even though it wasn't properly warned, since we have such a large turnout, and we have Fact TV here.
Whether it was a violation or not is not for me to say. That's for the interpretation of the law.
Good turnout, we gotta proceed with it.
So the only violation that we're saying is that you didn't get an email on this meeting, correct?
You have the statute in front of you.
Yep.
That's it.
So will you, without that, will you allow us to go ahead with it? Because you're here at the meeting.
It is not for me to allow. The violation is there. Whether you choose to proceed or not is up to the decision of the select board.
Well, if it's a violation, then we're gonna need to call the meeting and properly warn it.
Well, I believe everything was properly warned, other than, wish he wasn't sent an email. And he's here.
Seems like too many things just get pushed back. And I hope he takes a stance on it and goes further if you hold it, because there's been many times questions have been asked, and it seems like you guys just never answer it and hope it goes away. And there's been a lot of things that have been done wrong in this town for many years, but it's gotten a lot worse. Last year with the voting, you guys kept the votes, and many of them weren't even legit votes. They weren't brought in the right way, they weren't sent out the proper way, and you guys moved forward. And it's time that you guys start following the law.
We try to follow the law then.
Even when it's brought to your attention, just like right now. You guys just move forward. You guys work for the taxpayers, residents of this town, and you ask questions you guys don't answer. You get a, I don't know, or we'll look into it. Well, that look into it never ever happens. It's always been just, you know, oh, it's just the ones on Taylor Hill complaining. Well, finally other people are stepping up because they're sick of seeing it too.
I know in Lucci's letter last evening, he did specifically request that he be notified according to the open meeting law. And it says right here, as well as any person who has requested in writing to be notified of special meetings.
Yes.
And that was presented to us, so.
Is Darlene just the clerk, or she also the selectman's secretary?
She's the town clerk. She does a lot of the, if a notice has to be put out to the papers or anything like that, it's Darlene that does those things.
But that's not the duties of the clerk. It's the duty of the selectman. She's doing it just to be nice, basically, because she's a clerk. She's not your secretary.
Well, she takes the minutes and she works technically, she doesn't have to take the minutes, but she does take the minutes. And she does any notices to the paper for any reason, anything
But that
like
is
that.
solely up to the selectman's duty technically.
It's to be asked. I mean, in most select boards don't do all of their own notifying the papers themselves. They have a staff that does that. Darlene is the town clerk, and it has been the practice that Darlene is the one that does that, keeps the information in the office, files the information.
And she's technically your secretary too then.
So.
Voluntarily.
David?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Well, I agree with Danny to a point where a lot of neglect has happened over the years in this town, but I'd like to know where were all these people over those years that didn't complain? It seems like in the last couple of years, all these people come up and they got all these complaints. These issues have existed in the town for 30 years.
They're coming in.
And nobody, and I never saw all these people here complaining, but all of a sudden, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, all of a sudden, everything's got to be right to the letter of the law. But
Nothing gets answered.
What?
You submit letters, you don't get answers.
What I'm saying is, it always has been like this, but nobody showed up to question it.
Must have
Well, I
gotten worse
think,
then.
I think maybe what's wonderful is that people are showing up now. People are wanting to get involved.
Well, what I'd like to know is why? What changed?
Maybe we've had enough.
What really
Because
changed?
people have had enough.
Probably we
Okay.
had enough of it.
All right.
I brought this up years ago.
So we're not gonna get in back and forth between everybody here. Do you make a motion to, end this meeting because, he was not, and he will not grant us to go ahead with that because he's here, but.
I do make that motion, so that
okay.
we stay in the law.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Can we, do you want to set another special selection meeting for Monday?
If you have to warn it in the newspaper,
No, we don't.
They just have to be called.
I have a question about that. If they don't publish it and you just call the
Well-
paper, how are people gonna know? The only ones that are gonna know are the people that answered the phone at the paper. Still, the townspeople of Athens are not gonna
If you want to
know.
have that changed, contact your legislature. Contact the legislature.
Yeah.
Even though they don't, I'll let you know that I did contact the Secretary of State's office because I felt it was sort of counterintuitive. And I did contact the VLCT, and that is the way the law is interpreted by the lawyers, is you merely have to call and inform the paper that there is to be a meeting. It does not need to be published.
In most cases, it is published, but it doesn't necessarily, they're not mandated to do that.
That just does not make sense to me.
No.
There are a lot of things that sometimes don't make sense, so I will,
Okay, what was Denise's motion?
to end this
To end
meeting
this
as
meeting.
Wishy, has made a complaint that he did not receive an email,
According to special meeting.
according to the open meeting law after his request.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is it possible that you would give us until this coming Thursday? That way you get a few days where it can get in the paper, we can voice, there's going to be a meeting, because if you do it on Monday, I mean, you know, to me, I want just the time to be able to say, okay, you've had 72 or 96 hours and everything's above board. So I'm just asking if we could possibly do it on Thursday.
Why don't we do it Wednesday? Thursday's a holiday.
That's too
Yes,
late.
it's Veterans Day.
Well, Wednesday I have church, so.
What's the last day?
Gonna have to get a substitute.
No.
Yeah, so.
Have it on a Saturday, night, about 6 o'clock.
Too late.
So you're saying.
I'm not opposed to Thursday, this Thursday, this coming Thursday.
I think the veterans would like to have us meet on their day.
I will not be available.
Yeah, I may not be available either that day,
I have
so-
prior commitments, I will not be available.
But I'm not opposed to later on in the week.
Or do it
But
Friday
what,
night.
but what you're saying is if we don't do it Monday, it doesn't give us enough time to warn
For
the meeting.
the December 9th.
So
We
you
could
have
have
to
it a
change
different
December
day.
9th.
Yeah,
That's what I was just gonna ask, what's the big deal about meeting the December 9th meeting?
there's not. It can be later.
And is the December 9th meeting so that we can get it warned, so we can have the meeting, so we have enough time to get it into the town report on the 25th of?
No.
Okay, so as long as that's not an issue.
So, if I can just ask, and this is just asking, so how much time do you need, for example, you're saying the December 9th, to be able to warn? Do you have to have a month? Do you have to have 21 days?
It has to be published no longer than 40 days before, so you can't go 41 days to publish it in the paper, and you can't go less than 30 days. You can't go more than 40 and less than 30 to be published in the paper, so.
Okay, I didn't, when,
Why can't you just set the December meeting to be in person now, because you don't need a vote to do that?
Because we can't vote on it now, because Wishy didn't want to waive his notice. So we can't vote on it now.
But the other question is, why is this such a big push right now? Why can't this be done at our normal town meeting in March? I don't understand the big push to change this.
There isn't a big push to do this
Well, from
right now,
sitting
but
on this side of the desk, it seems like
It
the
is-
select board is really pushing hard to have this
it's
town
not-
meeting
it's
changed.
It's something that we talked about all year. We have to get it done before January if we're gonna do it. So there is that push to get it done before the end of January, so people know.
I'd like to call the question, please.
But I
We
don't
can't.
understand why we can't just,
I put a motion on the table and it hasn't been
Oh,
voted on.
you're,
Yeah.
yes,
I
all
don't
right,
understand why we can't just
Nope.
put this until March.
all right. All those in favor of, closing the meeting because Wishy did not receive the proper notification, signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
Aye.